Welcome, Tea Timers. Welcome back. Don't forget, hit subscribe, like the bell, and please leave your comments. Would love to know what's on your mind and in your heart. This week's video is dedicated to all the first responders and to you. So if you're out there and you're not a first responder, you're struggling with where am I at? Why am I here? What's going on? I feel lost. I'm unmotivated. I have an answer for you. So stay with me. I promise. I was listening to a post the other day from a nurse, and she was talking about she had just gotten off her shift, 12 hours, went straight to her car, and just bawled. She was exhausted. She had just lost 2 coronavirus patients. She had some challenges that day. And talking to another nurse, who's a friend of mine, asked, why me? Another law enforcement person had asked, why me? So everyone's asking, why me? And as I pondered that question, I found the answer for you. So I need you to stay with me so you can know the answer as well. Let me first say that you guys are so special. You're on the front lines, you're making a difference, you're superheroes, you're earthly angels. And you know what? I found a new word for you today, and that is you're game changers. You know why? Because you make a difference and you are enough. I've heard some people say, I don't feel like I'm enough. You are enough. You beat yourself up too much over this. God has you there, whether it be a law officer, whether it be a nurse, whether it be somebody in a whole different profession. God has you where you are for such a time as this. And when we think about that phrase, for such a time as this, it invokes courage and hope in those 6 little words. Help us work towards that moment in time where we make a difference in someone's life. That moment in time, like in Queen Esther's life. So I want to share a Bible story with you from Esther 4:14. And this story, I promise you, will answer the why me. It will answer and explain why you're where you're at for such a time as this. But before we talk about the phrase, we need to know more about Esther's background, and we can even think about ourselves, our own moments of for such a time as this, and we can learn that from Esther's life. So now let me tell you the story and the why those words were even spoken for such a time as this. Mordecai was a Jewish man that raised his beautiful young cousin, Esther. And he actually was a government official under King Xerxes. And he also reported an assassination attempt on his life, on the king's life, and actually saved his life. King Xerxes removed his first queen by shocking events. Esther ended up in the palace with a group of beautiful ladies across the land. And she found favor in Haggai, who was the head eunuch in charge of all these ladies. And yep, Esther became the next queen. But around that same time, the king's most trusted advisor, named Haman, set a plot in motion to kill all the Jews. You see, Haman really didn't like Mordecai. And remember, Mordecai was a Jew. So he convinced the king of his plan, and the decree was written. The Jews' only hope? That a young queen would risk her own life to save them. Mordecai knew what Esther was going to have to do, but he also knew Esther. And he knew he was going to have to explain to her the severity of the situation, but also to motivate her to push through her fear and insecurities to do what God has commanded her to do. No one could get close enough to stand before the king to plead their case, except Esther. Esther needed some encouragement on her journey. Not that she lacked courage, she just needed some reassurance that God was going to be with her. Esther's challenge was twofold. For one, she never told anyone that she was a Jew. And to advocate for the Jews would be ousting herself as someone that the king had ordered to be killed. The second challenge was that the king hasn't called her for 30 days. Now let's pause for a second, because back in those days, you didn't just phone the king up and go, yo, I want to have a conversation with you. No, you had to wait for the invitation. So to present yourself in front of the king without an invitation could mean death. Mordecai then speaks these words to Esther. For if you remain silent at this time, relief and deliverance for the Jews will arise from somewhere else. But you and your father's family will perish. And who knows, but that you have come to this royal position for such a time as this. The story of Esther ends with Esther executing a plan that exposes Haman, remember the bad guy, save the Jews, and earn her place in history. But God has a plan for you, for me. We are uniquely prepared, each of us, to accomplish something special. The world is changed, and lives are saved when individual men and women realize they have a calling for such a time as this. And it's through faith, that you take action. Today, God has called you for such a time as this. It is no coincidence that you are where you are, doing what you're doing. Trust God, and He has uniquely prepared you for this appointed time at any event in your life. Look at your current life situation and apply that thinking to it. How would it change your thoughts? You're on the mission field. Trust, have faith, move past your fears and insecurities that you're feeling. Think about the story of Esther. I hope you could relate to it. Who wouldn't have fear to go before the king when you haven't been called, when you have to advocate for a group of people that there's an order out that they're going to perish? Those are legitimate fears. You have legitimate fears, but through faith and through your trust in God, in knowing that you're on a mission, and that is to make the difference in someone's life for such a time as this. So go forth, game changers. Do what you're doing. Know that you're enough. You guys are totally awesome, and I hope that you get that from this video. I want to encourage you, be positive, and some days it's hard. You face real challenges, and just know that you're making a difference. Make it a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.